His name was Tana. But they changed it in Ellis Island to the maiden name. But yeah.
Were your grandparents from Germany, Poland, Prussia, Russia, Austria?
Originally from Iberian Peninsula, and then we fled into the Germanic regions, and we married in with the Ashkenazi community around 1500s. So I got a lot of diverse blood.
So you'll be a Sephardic Jew?
I have some Sephardic blood, for sure.
So is your father Ashkenazi or is he Sephardic? What is he?
We would be considered Ashkenazi, because even the Sephardim that married the Ashkenazi families, they merged in and became Ashkenazi. So my customs would be referred to as Ashkenazi customs. But for all practical differences, there's almost no difference between the customs of the Babylonian, the Mediterranean, the Iraqi, all of these communities basically practicing the same law. Minor nuances, you know? If I pronounce a letter this way, he pronounced a letter that way.
So when you gonna come on the show? The
Spiritual combat, baby. Hey, y'all can only run so long. It's going down. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
He's ducking and diving us. He's ducking.
I did feel like you was giving me the rope a dope, man. You like this on the ropes, man. I hear you. Hey, and you did. You were a man of your word with that. I give you that.
But at the end of the day is...
and I know you're heading back to Israel, Tuesday, right?
Tuesday, yeah.
Okay. See, and Monday's my travel day. I'm driving back to Jackson.
I'm trying to take over the government of Israel, you know?
Okay. All right. When you take it over, you give it back to us, we're going to be good.
He need to come on the show, too.
Listen, you know what? Our group, we're non... Like, let's say you are potentially right that you have connected your people.
Potentially? We are right. What are you talking about?
Let's just put it on the table. That you've connected your people to the people of Israel. That's a truth. But then you take that truth and you package it with your own truths of now what to do about it, or who is or who isn't. So you're taking some truth and then you're mixing your own personal opinions into it. So I'm always interested in saying, hey, we could assume or trace back your family clans to the people of Israel. That's one truth. But now, to move to the second level, we got a lot to talk about. Now what? Or who is or who isn't? Or what was the code of Israel? That's still up for debate.
Well, like I said, that's why we should start having that dialogue, get all that cleared up. Y'all, you start coming on the show.
All right, man.
Yeah.
You online all the time.
So we need to do also show on who are the Sephardic Jews and the Ashkenazi Jews.
Sure, listen.
There's a lot of attention on us in Africa, or the people in Africa and the Negro. So let's turn attention to who are the Ashkenazi Sephardic Jews.
I got one main question.
You guys say y'all from Judah and Benjamin Levi, right?
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah. So you say wait. You say that you're from the tribe of Judah, right?
For sure.
And you can trace your lineage back to King Solomon, King David?
Without missing a generation.
How?
Wow.
We kept records. Firstly, you had
where are the records at?
You had what was called the Exalarch in the Babylonian.
I know, where are the records at? Are they written in modern Hebrew or ancient Hebrew? What are they written in?
Written in Aramaic and ancient Hebrew, not in the letters. We have the earliest document we have is, let's say, from the year 900 or something. Because before that, everything was oral. There was nothing written down.
So you saved records all the way dating back to 1100 BC, 1000 BC.
No.
That's 3,000 years.
No, 900 now. That was the earliest writings we have from the family lineages. Let's say the year 900, 1000 now. Because prior to that, it was all oral.
But then how do you know you're from the lineage of King Solomon, King David?
We pass down the family tree. So if I say I come from an ancestor from 1,000 years ago, let's say his name is Rashi, Rabbi Yitzchak, right? He lived in a certain region of Europe, and he said, okay, this is my ancestor, and here's my ancestor. And I'll tell you one thing, right now, our oral tradition is like the blockchain, right? Because if someone wrote down something 1,000 years ago that the world didn't agree with, the Jewish world, it would get burned. They would say, no, my family didn't say this. So it was a communal passing on of tradition. And that was how we know what the law was. When it says in the Torah, put a mezuzah on your doorpost, what is a mezuzah? It doesn't explain it. So how do we understand that? We pass that information on. So part of that passing on, we included which families were Davidic, which families were converts, which family, all of that.
So, okay, was King Solomon a black man, or was he a white man?
Part of this transmission says for sure they weren't white. People of
Okay,
Israel
so
weren't white.
what color were they? What color were they?
We say they weren't white, they weren't black, they were boxwood. I would say you may have boxwood color skin.
Listen. Judah's first wife was what? Was she a Canaanite?
Who?
Judah's first wife.
Judah. He ended up getting from Tamar, the Davidic line.
No.
Right?
Judah's first wife. You should know this. Judah's first wife. Who was she?
What was her name?
You don't know her name?
I know the Davidic line comes from Tamar.
Who was King Solomon's mother?
He come from the line of Ruth and Boaz, and she had Moabite blood in her.
Is that true?
Yes, for sure. Ruth was a Moabite convert who married Boaz, and from this comes the line
King David married who and had King Solomon?
Bathsheba.
And what was she?
I would assume she was a part of the people of Israel.
How? What lineage was she from? Ham, Shem, what was it?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
You should know this.
I'm not a scholar. I'm not an activist.
I mean, you're a rabbi. Your rabbi's a teacher, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an expert in Jewish law. You know, when it comes to the chronology of tens of thousands of people, I'm a young man. So you could tell me. I know we got Ruth and Boaz, and from this comes the line Davidic line. King David marries Bathsheba. From this comes King Solomon. Okay. So now we know the scriptures defines King David as a ruddy, right individual, Adom, which is some type of reddish complexion.
Okay.
So if there was Moabite blood,
As far as reddish and what? Because when you look at Moni, when you look at it says about Adam, it says the same thing about Esau, and says the same thing about King David.
Right.
So when you say it's red, how does red show up on the individual?
Right.
And complexion. Now, when you look at the red heifer, or you look at a red horse, you would see a brownish reddish color. You wouldn't see an Asher like Clifford the Red Dog red, or blood going through somebody's face at times that make them blush red. What he's talking about at Mani is talking about a reddish brownish type of color.
This is definitely for sure.
So it's
this
not
is a conversation. No
so that's what I'm saying
that.
as far as when it says at Mani, because a lot of people take red and they just be like, well, that must mean there can't be black people or nothing like that. But it's just like a mahogany. Right. You understand what I'm saying?
So what I'm trying to say here is we could talk for months and weeks and years about the complexion. But what we're not talking about is the actual Torah and the laws of the Torah.
Okay.
And how that affects this conversation.
Well, you know the Edomites, they followed the Torah too. They were converted to Judaism.
Sure, we kept records of that.
Back in the early BC time.
For certain.
3rd century, 2nd century.
We know exactly the names of the families, the clans, who converted.
So if the Edomites got converted to Judaism or Jews, and they lived amongst the Greeks, the Hellenized Greeks, and also the Romans that may have considered Judaism, then how do you know you guys are not Edomites?
Because we
or
kept
you guys
records
are not
of which
descendants of
families
Greeks and
were from
Romans?
the converts and which families were Davidic.
And when it comes to...
There was a position called the exilarch. You know what an exilarch is? An exilarch was a representative from the house of David to the exiles, and it lasted all the way into the year 1000 in the modern era. So we kept records of saying, these families are Davidic, these families are converts. There was no issue that saying the Davidic family was like, oh, you guys are converts, you're not like, no. It was, one brotherhood, as the Torah says.
Rosenberg, look at this. In your DNA, in your maternal DNA, you have nothing that connects you to the ancient Canaanites, the ancient Egyptians, and the ancient Cushites. And you know that the children of Israel, they intermarried the Canaanites for over 1,000 years, intermarried with the Egyptians, they intermarried with the Cushites. So the thing is, if you're...
Hey Will, I see you on there, man. Tell your boy Amari Stoudemire he need to come on the Spiritual Combat Show, man.
In Europe, that means that your ancestral bloodline comes from Central Asia, the same place that Yiddish comes from. This is a Turkish, Slavic, and Germanic language that's mixed in with Hebrew that you learned from Hebrew school. That's what Yiddish is. Yiddish is your original ancestral home language that you added Hebrew to and called it Yiddish.
Every single Israelite exile group adapted an exile language. So if you were in Spain, it was Ladino. If you were in Iraq, you spoke an Iraqi
Ladino is a Romance language.
Sure.
Okay, what you guys speak is Germanic, Slavic, and Turkish language.
That was not...
But the people in Africa, they still understand Paleo-Hebrew.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ancient Hebrew.
Like I said, we're going to go back to the same point.
That's before you guys.
If you're going to say a truth over that could be fine. But that has nothing to do with the Torah and its laws and who
Watch out
is
for the
the
car.
descendants of the people.
All right, let's say this, Dan. When you talk about how...
So I'm not taking that away from you.
When you talk about law...
You're taking other things away from everyone else.
When you're talking about law
yeah.
as a nation and how law affects the people, right?
Sure.
Then that's when we got to get into the conversation when it talks about what was declared that would happen to a nation of people as it regards to breaking of a law, as it regards to a covenant of law, as it regards to the descendancy of those people that came into covenant, not just the people, but the descendancy of it. Then we got to go into how can we look at the effects as a nation of the consequences that happen to a people that verifies that they are the people. Then we have to go into the nation groups of people and see as a whole of disobedience what has happened as regards to Torah, breaking it, consequences that are defined in the scripture that happen to a nation of people if we use people groups. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the conversation.
Yeah, if you were saying maybe there was a Torah, and you come from a group that had a certain relationship with the Torah that caused an exile to happen, so that means you have to return to the Torah.
Okay, exactly.
Right. So now when you return to the Torah is written in a way that you can't fully understand it without an explanation of the verses. Like, I'll give the main example. When it says in the Torah, you put a mezuzah on your doorpost. It doesn't say what a mezuzah is. So are you guys now going to debate in the year 2018 between your camps what this is referring to? Or are you going to say there is a tradition that was passed down?
Okay, well who's going to regather the tribes? Who's going to regather the tribes? Who? What tribe?
I say everyone's got to try until we see the King Messiah arise.
Okay, how can Gog and Magog regather the tribes? If your bloodline's from Gog and Magog and you're a convert to Judaism.
Oh yeah, who said I'm a convert?
And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that's the Jewish people today who are white Caucasian people came in a little bit later on. We know that some of the greatest sages of the transmission of the Torah were converts from Rome.
You are a convert.
I trace back.
No. We can prove. I can prove this on the show on the spiritual combat.
Yeah, you need to come on spiritual combat. I mean, we're in the middle of the street, and we got a baptism to go
We ain't
to.
attacking now. We're just bringing up conversation.
The way to study Torah is battle. That's the only way to study Torah. You're gonna battle it out with the
But we do have to get to a baptism.
Yeah, we got a baptism.
If you can come to the YMCA and we can baptize the people, then we can have a full discussion. But we late to the baptism.
Okay.
If you can come straight down,
No.
We don't have a mikvah, so we got to go do what we got to do.
Next time you need a mikvah, call me. I'll hook you guys up. I got know my friends with the secret mikvahs, but in the meanwhile, I just came to share some love. That's it.
We appreciate you coming out.
And I want to say this to you,
Yeah.
that a lot of us, when we come to the truth, you've been a tool. Used by Yah. I really believe that you've been a tool. Used by
with the
Yah
video.
to help us wake us up.
Hey,
So
We
I
use
think
highlights from
Silver
some of your
Bob
when I'm
videos
in
where
an Uber
you.
in Manhattan and I got an African American driver, I say to him, hey, do you know that the largest tribe in Africa that self-identifies being from the children of Israel, the Igbo tribe, 40 million people, made up about 20-something% of the transatlantic slave trade? Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, but you saying your videos they claim to be.
I said self-identify.
No, you say with the
right word would be
Ask Michael
self-identified.
Brown show. You said they claim to be Israelites.
I should have said self-identify. That would be the better.
Well, why don't you just say they are the Israelites?
Who am I? I'm just a young guy from New York City.
Hey, I got one question. Hey, Harry, I got one
I can
question
speak
though.
on my head. You could tell me I claim. You know?
Do you think the curses are what identify us, the people, as?
It's a big mistake to just say I'm an Israelite and only the Israelites could be because of the curses. Because then you're saying everyone left back in Africa can't be part of this whole thing.
They fit the curses too.
They didn't get brought here on slave ships. So you could say maybe these curses could identify with a remnant of the people of Israel. When you say it's exclusive,
let me say this about the
out.
slave ships now. A lot of things with the slave ships now people use, but the main thing is not slave ships. The main thing is you'll be led into captivity into every nation, whether it be by ship, by horse. So we don't hop on just, now a lot of us do hop on the ship, but we don't hop on just the ships because we were scattered there through all types of means. So this is colonialism. So this is the thing that we're saying. We don't just use this as we grow and you get around balanced Hebrews. Not just the
camps, because we're not camps.
And I'm
That's
not
what
saying,
everybody.
There's some good camps out there. I'm not
we're not saying camps.
But when you look at balanced Hebrews, we don't just use all the curses. We use migration patterns. We use archaeological findings in order to realize who we are, and we use traditions of oral traditions and also customs that we find in Israel, not in Israel, but in Africa, that's not indigenous to the people that's there to prove who we are. So no, we just don't use prophecy, which is prophecy, I believe is more sure. We use archaeological findings, we use migration patterns, and we use the customs of the people, because there's no way we're going to be able to tell those people that it's been in their traditions, their customs, that where they got it from, and they are saying that they are from Israel. We're going to look at the people and say they ain't.
I'm here to support that.
I'm not saying that you do, but I'm saying a lot of people do, that they look at those people and just look at them and say, well, now y'all ain't no people because what? A white explorer didn't identify and say that y'all are. That's a problem. So this is why we do research, and Ron Dalton do research, Joshua Cullins do research, to make relationships with those tribes to gain credence over our people over here that's in America that won't believe us. Sure. So we go get the people, the natives there to show their traditions, to show their lights, and even get to the point of DNA that we're tracing as our DNA traced back to those people. Not just the Igbo, but it's a lot of tribes in Africa that we can show from their miles of their oral tradition themselves, saying how they traveled down and got there. A lot of times we just hop on the Igbo or just hopped on the Limba, but it's a lot more tribes that is in their oral traditions that they didn't originate there, and they tell you orally how they got there and have to follow up customs that prove who they are, that they are today. Now you do have some merge and different other cultures that is merged
I just
into.
ride with the Igbo and the Limba because they're the only ones coming out saying we are.
Now, do you believe your people line up with the curses?
I mean, my ancestors were for certainly raped and couldn't own land and were slaves.
Can you come to the YMCA? We got to baptize some people, or we can hook up later.
Yeah,
come on, Spiritual Combat. I appreciate you coming out, Harry.
The Gentiles
you know what I'm
okay.
saying?
The Gentiles okay.
We
gotta love the Gentiles, except the Gentiles if you follow Torah and the Messiah.
I'm gonna stop. I'll leave you guys alone when I see you say, here's the Torah, here's its laws, and here's how we understand it as a nation, as a people. Until then, we got a lot of work. And I'm not saying that you're off, but it's all young. It's young.
We just need to talk. That's why.
Let's do it.
Come on the show,
right,
man.
guys.
You
God
got
bless.
Skype.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see you on Spiritual Combat
Yeah,
show.
you guys are good guys. Stay strong.
And I like the way everybody talks and keeps their head. That's imperative.
A lie cannot live forever. We're gonna prove that.
That's right. I say the same thing back at you then. Let's do it.
Hey, man. My man Harry, man. And you have a good... We'll try to get you... We'll try to set something. I don't think it's going to happen, but you...
I go back to Israel this week. I'll be a little more settled.
Hey, Harry, Josh wants to say something to you.
We got Brother Josh.
Yeah, Josh is hiding back there.
I'm from South Carolina, man. You look exactly like the farmers do in South Carolina. It's interesting that a lot of those farmers were actually slave owners who actually descend from Jewish.
Trying to tell them.
That's pretty fascinating, you know? You know what? If I was a slave, God forbid, I would want to be owned by a righteous Jew. Not that that makes sense or politically correct, but if a Jew is a Torah-keeping individual, then his slave would have an excellent life.
Wait a minute.
And if his slave had a bad life, that guy's a wicked man.
So talk about the Jewish
Let's take this up.
Talk about the Jewish Newport of World Slave Conference. Y'all had all these.
Don't say y'all. We had a few families.
You're Jewish.
Yeah. I didn't get any kickdown from that money they made. They didn't. I didn't get. But yeah, for sure, the Jews in Portugal. And
they had slave ships. They had
ships. They insured the ships. They were running a lot of the show.
So how can you guys go into bondage and you're the ones to put the people in bondage?
You say you people. I'm talking about maybe 20, 30 families who today have no relevance. Maybe their kids are married off. They got assimilated. I don't get any kickdowns from that. So don't say the Jewish people. You could say 20 families. You say, hey, I got this Jewish family who they own this. I say, yo, hit them up for some money.
But you know,
get some reparations from them.
At the bottom line of it, your biological tissue, your maternal DNA, all goes back to Europe. Oh, you're no different than any European.
Well, we've been
your maternal DNA.
We've been in Spain
it's
since
not.
almost
It's
the time of
not. It's
King
not
Solomon.
connected to anywhere in Africa or the Middle East or Northeast Africa.
I want to ask one question. I know we got to go. Just one question.
You gotta go, y'all.
Yes, brother.
The Sephardic Jews,
Yeah.
when they got expelled from Spain, where did they go?
They scattered. They went.
That's not true?
No, you're wrong.
According to history. But no, I'm asking you because
They went into the Germanic regions. They went into Africa. They went into South America. They went into North America.
That's not true.
I mean, we kept all the records. We know.
I got all the records.
We got the records written in Old English.
Let's do it.
Spiritual Combat, baby. Spiritual Combat,
We
baby.
got the records written in Old English back in the 1400s where they got sent
You
to.
guys are talking about where a couple million people scattered to.
No, we got records from.
The Balkans is not it.
Hey, y'all.
I don't know if one family.
Hey, I'm gonna have to Don King this thing because I got 7 tickets. You know what I'm saying? We gotta go, Harry. Appreciate you coming
All
out.
right, where's your card? Don't buck the car. Let's go.
All right. Appreciate you coming out, Harry. All right. Shalom, man.
If you come against the scriptures, man, we gon' rise up. If you come against our heritage, we gon' rise up. It don't matter, anybody get it, man. We gon' rise up, rise up. We rise up. If you come against the king, man, we gon' rise up. If you come against our Elohim, we gon' rise up. It don't matter, anybody get it, man. We gon' rise up, we rise up. Rise up and rise up.
Oh me, oh my. Atheist tweeting OMG. Life came to a standstill and then got real with them prophecies. Every time we done pass go, monopolize the monopoly. You give us 200, take 300, charge us for the property. Y'all gave us this authority. To be honest, got it honestly. Which means we are joint heirs. Zombies twins on a trampoline. We speak what he wrote. Melania's speech, Michelle's notes. Israel hit the ground running like a breech birth cause we got hope. Hold up. Yeshua is the Messiah. It's his will over our will, so we call that student driver. He calls us his song. Sorry, Mariah. Post to carry these notes. Addressing all outsiders, we will rise up.
If you come against the scriptures, man, we gon' rise up. If you come against our heritage, we gon' rise up. It don't matter, anybody get it, man, we gon' rise up. Rise up, we rise up. If you come against the king, man, we gon' rise up. If you come against our Elohim, we gon' rise up. It don't matter, anybody get it, man, we gon' rise up. We rise up, rise up, and rise up.
Rise up in the morning, see my people in poverty, crying out to my people. They asking me why you bother me. Slaves, we living in colonies, walking like zombies who bred with lobotomies. Even preacher man and creature man, down low with them sodomies. And no, it isn't an oddity, rather the norm, so check the academy. They say if it ain't easy, I guess that's the academy. Rise, I'm getting that out of me, know that they lie to me, no longer lie to me. The shoe flipped up the process. Yeah, I molded the pottery. Hold up. What they gonna do when they show up? Will they ever grow up? Cause some rather breed with a bull than to run and plant seed with a sower. You remember Noah? What you gonna be when the blow, when they haven't reseed, then it roll up? Think you're gonna go up? You better reread what you know of mainframe, DP, and to go up.
If you come against the scriptures, man, we gon' rise up. If you come against our heritage, we gon' rise up. It don't matter, anybody get it, man, we gon' rise up. Rise up, we rise up. If you come against the king, man, we gon' rise up. If you come against our Elohim, we gon' rise up. It don't matter, anybody get it, man, we gon' rise up. We rise up, and rise up. Judah, rise up. Benjamin, rise up. Levi, rise up. Asher, we gon' rise